As we all know, The Acolyte is an abysmal TV show made by people who care nothing about the Star Wars franchise and quite literally only care about furthering a propaganda machine that goes against everything that Star Wars was once about. Completely redefines the Force, completely trashes Anakin and Luke Skywalker's legacy, completely trashes the legacy of George Lucas, and completely trashes the lore of the universe in and of itself. There's no doubt about that. There's complete and total lore and canon breaks throughout the entirety of the episodes that we've seen so far, all 6 of them. Yes, I'm still working on reviews for those. I posted a second episode review on YouTube, but it was blocked due to copyright reasons, so please go watch that on Rumble. I will leave a link to my channel for Rumble down in the description below. Check that out before the end of the video. Nevertheless, despite all of this, Leslie Headland has decided that she's going to come out and blame the fans for the reason why the show is failing. And to a certain degree, I have to agree with her. The fans are no longer putting up with the garbage that Disney has been shoving down their throats, and they're finally saying, that's enough. You don't deserve the respect that we've given you. The Acolyte showrunner speaks out on the Star Wars show's review bombing. This is the Screen Rant article here. Leslie Headland, showrunner of Star Wars The Acolyte, has spoken out about the review bombing campaign against her Star Wars TV show, and she thankfully seems to be in good spirits. The Acolyte struck a nerve among certain audiences well before it even premiered, which made The Acolyte a target of review bombing on sites such as Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic before its first 2 episodes even premiered. Now the Star Wars TV show is sitting at a 14% user score on Rotten Tomatoes, and Headland has finally gotten to speak her piece. When prompted by Collider, Headland is given the chance to respond to this phenomenon, which she insists was expected. Headland shares the truth that if you're in the Star Wars fandom, I think you already know what review bombing is. Something that goes back to Star Wars prequel era with Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith and clearly beyond. While Headland isn't quick to dismiss it, she does reveal that her team were expecting such a response. It's not that it's not concerning, but I think it's pretty expected. Well, yeah, I would say it's pretty expected as well as of right now. Everything that Disney has done since getting Star Wars back in 2014, or whenever it was that George Lucas sold the rights to his beloved franchise to Disney, ever since they've gotten it, all they've done has ruined the lore of Star Wars, trash everything that came before it, including the prequels and the original trilogy, created the god-awful, abysmal sequel trilogy, which nobody in their right mind has ever enjoyed anything about. Maybe there was a little bit of trickery that got the fans excited regarding The Force Awakens, but you had a 50% audience drop-off by the end of the sequel trilogy. That would be The Rise of Skywalker. The Last Jedi was a breaking point for many of the fans of Star Wars as a franchise. The Disney series in regards to the Clone Wars, which was started, I believe, after 2014 or somewhere around that point in time. Ever since they got it, the show declined in its quality. And beyond that, every single show that Disney has produced, yes, even The Mandalorian, has been terrible with the exception of Andor. Andor is quite possibly the only Disney TV series based off of Star Wars as a franchise that was actually enjoyable to watch. And they still can't make it last. And the reason why is because this is a story of a character who dies in Rogue One, quite possibly the only Disney movie that people have ever actually enjoyed. And it's not even because it's a well put together film, it's because of the fact that they had Darth Vader thrashing around a bunch of rebel soldiers at the end of the film, like Darth Vader would if it was a consistent canon with George Lucas's Star Wars. Headland raises a point that perfectly summarizes what's now happening with Star Wars in reviews. Does anybody take that seriously anymore? She's absolutely right about the fact that, especially within the Star Wars fandom, audience scores and reviews are no longer as reliable as they perhaps once were. It's become more and more of a recent and habitual thing for Star Wars projects to be bombarded with an onslaught of bad reviews for no good reason, which attempts to drown out both the praise and the valid criticism. Reviews are losing their credibility is a dangerous step in the wrong direction. I think you're mistaken, Miss Headland. I think you're desperately mistaken. These reviews do matter. These reviews, the review bombing, as you claim, just because it's a negative review instead of a positive one. And by the way, there is positive review bombing as well, where people will just praise a show because it happens to have Star Wars attached to it. I give you an example. Star Wars Disney shills, or Disney Star Wars shills, who are like, the Acolyte is so amazing, and they're clapping their hands every single time that they see something happen. They see lightsabers come up on screen, and there's so many colors, so they just clap their hands like seals, and they're like, oh my gosh, we're back to amazing Star Wars. It's like, no. It's a terrible show. The writing is terrible. The dialogue is terrible. The plot, the choreography, everything about it is terrible. People are bringing up legitimate criticisms, and it offends people like Leslie Headland. It offends individuals who are part of the mainstream media outlet conglomeration that is Disney, ABC, NBC, CNN, CNBC, or whatever the freaking news outlets are. Even Fox News. I don't care about them either. But never mind. Getting off track. Nevertheless, these individuals who are leaving these reviews talking about their grievances with the series that you have produced are leaving valid criticisms, talking about the major plot points and issues that go against the lore of Star Wars, against the established way that the Force works, and against the characters that they have loved since they were children, watching these characters on screen in their favorite films and TV shows. You have trashed every single one of them, and they have left valid criticisms regarding the trashing of it that you have committed. Leslie Headland, the former personal assistant of Harvey Weinstein, has done nothing but introduce lesbians as the main conduit for the Force to do its job, and given her wife, or her sexual partner, a place on the show through the act of nepotism. This is an abysmal show with abysmal casting, with abysmal dialogue, with abysmal action, with abysmal everything all the way through. The show has done nothing but destroy the lore of Star Wars, and Leslie Headland saying that it's not a valid criticism and it's actually just completely watering down everything has to be either the most idiotic take that I've ever heard of, or a severe amount of cope as a way to twist the narrative to make it seem like these people who are leaving these reviews don't have as much power as they do, and Disney Star Wars knows, Disney as a company knows at this point, with their billion-dollar losses consistently for the last couple of years, that they have a desperate need for fan approval, because without the fan approval, they're going to go bankrupt, they're going to fail as a company, and they're going to continue to go down the death spiral that is what they've been committed to for the last however many years they've been doing this. It is an abysmal downward spiral that the fans have finally stopped paying the ticket for, and they no longer care to watch it, and if they do watch it, they leave their sincere reviews talking about how it's absolute trash because they're starting to realize that you don't care a daggum thing about any of the stories that came before, and you only care about pushing your agenda into the films, TV shows, and other such media that you now have your grubby fingers on. People are sick and tired of the garbage, and it's about daggum time these companies paid for screwing with the lore. You can't have something that's been established, retcon it, make it something else, and then expect the fans to just go along with it when it's something that they actually care about, and when it's something that completely destroys the stories that came before it. That's it. Good night. I mean, goodness gracious, these companies will never learn. Disney's going to be the last one to course correct, I promise you that. And it's just going to get worse for them. But the good news is there are places out there that are actually trying to make good stories. Look at the Eric July Rippaverse. He's come out with 2 Isom comics. He's got the Alpha Core started. Yaira #1 is started. Gooding is coming out. I can't wait to get my hands on a copy of that. We've got Isom #3 coming out sometime soon. I am so excited for that. So if you want to read good comics regarding superheroes that come from an original story that hasn't been corrupted by specific political ideologies, go read the Rippaverse. It is a fantastic, fun, adventurous story that I can't wait to see grow and expand. I cannot wait to see it, especially with potential titles like Norfolka and a couple other things out there that I'm not sure if I have the names right on, and I don't want to speak bad about it right now because I don't want to mispronounce the names. There's so much available in the Rippaverse, so go check that out. You've got a bunch of other comic books, a bunch of other media from a bunch of other creators. If you don't know where to look, start by going to places like Nerdrotic, Heel vs. Babyface, Geeks and Gamers, Friday Night Tights, Rippin' the Silverback. Look at stuff like that. They're going to point you in the right direction for good media, as well as a couple other places. But as for now, this has been a long enough video. I hope you guys have a great day and a great rest of the week.